listening to the Hollywood Boulevard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Alfred Crane with Jonathan Moody and Joe Turkel.
Turkel, what is it? The Shining?
Shit.
Turek, but it's okay. We got it. We're here for the Hollywood Boulevard Podcast.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you joined us for the Hollywood Boulevard Podcast. And I'm joined by Jonathan, Joe, and myself, Alfred. Tonight we're discussing the 1982 Richard Donner movie, Megaforce. And basically, it was supposed to be a feel-good guy. Kind of like G.I. Joe, the precursor to G.I. Joe was, when they had the cartoons out. And so like the A-Team and stuff. And it was lighthearted. I mean, Richard Donner, he did, I believe he was working on, he did the Cannonball Run movies. He did, Hal Needham did that.
Yeah. Wait! You said Richard Donner. I was like, wait, Richard Donner. I was like, did we watch the right movie?
No, it's
Hal Needham. Yeah.
I gotta start that again. We're having a good thing. Jonathan, you can edit this together, right?
It's okay. Actually, just leave it in. I mean, it's all good. It's all fun,
Yeah.
Yeah. The Joe Turkel reference is nice, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna put that at the end. That'll be there at the end.
Yeah, that was good. What is this, The Shining? That'd be a good way to end it.
Yeah. What is this, The Shining? Oh,
Yeah, okay. The 1982 Hal Needham, movie Megaforce was. I am having trouble tonight. Well, I'm having fun though.
It was, honestly, I wasn't surprised by this being your pick, Alfred.
Yes.
After having seen Spies Like Us and Running Scared, this felt like one of your kind of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just when I was a kid I was in elementary school living in upstate New York and went to the Sangertown Square Theater to see it, and it was. I remember when the previews came out for it. It was like the catchline was the good guys always win, even in the '80s. He gets on top of the tank, he taps it, and Henry Silva comes out and goes, "Hey!" And then he's like, hey, I just want to let you know the good guys always win. Me and my dad loved it. So when it came out to the theaters, we went in and saw that, and we had a great time. It was just a fun movie. My mom went to another movie. I think she just stayed in that one, but the couple she walked out of.
Did she walk out of this one, or did she go directly to another one? She
would go to other movies, and if they kind of were bad, so she did go and leave the theater. And she left the best little whorehouse in Texas because it was just like so horrible.
Hey! I like that one.
Well, we were talking about that on Film Freaks, I think, for the Christmas Story episode. And I remember, Joe, you had said something about like your parents were letting you watch that movie or something, or not watch that movie.
No, I got into Porky's. They took me to see Porky's, but Best Little Whorehouse in Texas came out like the following year, and my mom was like, "No, I've learned my lesson. I look up the movies now, and that one alone. I mean, the title alone tell you no on that. But I mean, no, I didn't get to see that one in the theaters. We actually went and saw another movie, and they had it playing, and I peeked down the hall at it. But my mom was like, "Move along."
Yeah.
so no, I never got to see that one in the theaters, but I do own it now on video and love it. But
the night that my mom walked out of that, my dad and I were watching Tron. I said, "You should come and watch Tron with us."
That's a contrast in films there. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Tron.
Yeah.
Best Little Whorehouse in Tron.
See, this is the difference between you guys and me. When I was a kid, my dad would take me to the movies, to watch stuff, and we watched like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, in 1989, and then or 1990. And then, he would take me to see Rookie of the Year or, things like that, and, maybe even Adam Sandler movie, but he wouldn't take me to, like we didn't go see like, I don't know if Megaforce had come out. I don't think I would have been that interested in it, though. I did sort of, because I read like a trivia of it. It did say like, you never see anybody actually die in the movie,
Right.
or whatever. So it was a precursor to G.I. Joe because G.I. Joe is mostly known for things like blow it up, but you never see anybody actually
Right.
get shot or
Jump out of the
anything.
helicopter with a parachute.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was envisioning like A-Team type of stuff.
Mhm.
This
Because
was a
like they
year
always
before A-Team, but this does feel like A-Team on crack,
Yeah.
Hmm.
And Hal Needham, he did like Cannonball Runs. I think he did Smoking the Bandit, didn't he? Or was
Smoking
that?
the
oh
Bandit,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, yes,
And
yeah. That's
Hal and Cannonball Runs. Those are some of my favorite movies. And he was kind of one of those. I guess he's like one of the not so great directors, but I liked most things he did, and he didn't make it like big, but he made a name for himself. And his movies are always fun.
Yeah.
well, he was a stuntman who basically turned into directing, and I know he did like 6 or 7 films with Burt Reynolds. So
Yeah.
Didn't he break himself or something as a stuntman? That's why he had to go into doing directing or something.
Probably.
I know he had injuries, but I mean most stunt people do. The friend of
Yeah.
mine that's in the business, he talks about some of the stuff he's had happen and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, well the stunt people, that I mean they're not there to get hurt obviously, but they're there to save the true the big dollar talent from
Yeah.
getting any scratches.
Well, speaking of
Um,
big dog talent, let's get into the cast. You got Barry Bostwick, who I think by then he was in the musical Pirates of Penzance. I think when he was there. I think most people knew him from trans,
Rocky
the
Horror.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah.
Hmm.
Jeff Beck was in not Jeff Beck.
Michael Beck.
Michael Beck. Jeff Beck's the guitarist.
Hmm.
Michael Beck, he was in Xanadu. I remember that.
He was also
Edward
in The
Mulhare.
Warriors.
Yes, that's right.
And
Warriors.
what's so funny is like I saw him and I was like, wait a minute, come on. Because like I'm so used to him being like the serious role from the
Yeah.
Warriors, and it's kind of like Barry Bostwick and him kind of switch places a little bit. And they were
Yeah.
both able to kind of goof off
Oh,
and have more fun with their characters, in this one.
yes. Yeah, they were great. And then you had Edward Mulhare from The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, the
Hmm.
TV series. Persis Kambata, who was in Star Trek The Motion Picture. I think she died of some kind of brain cancer early on. She only
She
made a
was in
few
some sort
movies.
of she had like a car accident or something. She was a model,
Yeah.
but she passed away. I think she was only like less than she was under 50. Yeah, so sad there.
Hmm.
The one you were mentioning before that, are you talking about the one who played Michael's boss in Knight Rider?
Yes, yeah, he's the same guy. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, so yeah, there's people that you've seen in all sorts of stuff. I mean, even the pilot of the airplane, small role here, but he was a doctor on the TV show Emergency in the 70s, which I absolutely I remember
That
that
was I
show
love
growing
that
up.
show. Yeah. Bah,
Yeah.
bah, bah.
Exactly the opening for that. But yeah, so yeah, pretty good roster of talent that was in this
Evan
movie.
Kim from Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he was in that dude's also in like the Maverick movie and he
Yep.
was a doctor on Seinfeld, like I mean if you look at like
And
these
he's also
guys'
played a
credits, it's so crazy,
he also played Harry Callahan's partner in the Deadpool.
He actually, yeah, and I really to go back to that pilot guy, I really liked him, because he was the guy that was getting into it with him and trying to say, right, he was the one who was trying to tell Barry Bostwick basically to just fuck everybody and move on, or whatever, and that's what made, I guess, Barry Bostwick's character so likable was that he actually cared about everybody in his platoon and his group
Mhm.
and whatnot. And I call it platoon, but in the
Yeah.
Megaforce,
Uh-huh.
I thought that was pretty cool.
And but cast with other familiar faces from a lot of movies. And then the egg was from the Cannonball Run, and he was in a few other movies. I've seen him in other movies. Oh, that's the guy, But yeah, I enjoyed the movies. I like lighthearted and the cast and Hal Needham, of course, he's playing the command vehicle.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Has like different things.
So you
So
said you saw this in the theaters though?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, because you know how I always do when we talk about these movies and stuff like that. It's like, what was what was in the theaters at the time and what how to do and stuff like that. So I mean, obviously, we know this movie didn't do well in theaters. It opened up. It was June of 1982, and it came in ninth place when opening weekend. So it was about 2.3 million it made. Thing is that it came out the same day as two classic films that I know I absolutely love, and I believe you both do too. It came out the same day as The Thing.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Which I don't know.
Which was that was number 8 at the box office that week, but that didn't do. I mean, that did obviously start out as well there. And it came out the same day as the number 2 movie that week, which was Blade Runner.
Wow.
So I'm like, Blade Runner.
Also,
I'm like, holy cow.
From what I understand, it also was up against Road Warrior at that time.
Yeah. I think that came out like the couple of weeks after. That week, E.T. was number 1, Blade Runner's 2, Firefox, we're talking Clint Eastwood, that was 3.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater.
Yep, Rocky 3, Star Trek 2,
Jesus
Annie,
Christ,
Poltergeist, and then Thing, Megaforce, and Bambi. And then Porky's and Grease 2, and Conan was a little bit further down. But they were all out.
This was the year I was born, 1982. And all the best movies come out that year, of course. You know.
Yes, you were like 5 months old.
I'm born, and like all of these movies are born, you know, because
my mom, I remember we wanted to go see Rocky 3, but she wanted to see Annie, and we were there. And I was like, Dad, please, no, you know. And then she said,
so that's what she slid into. She slid into Annie.
I named one of my first dogs, like the dog that I got to own. I named her Sandy after the Sandy dog in Sandy and Annie, and everything. So I loved Annie growing up as a child. It wasn't my favorite movie or anything. It was more to the girl side of stuff or whatever, but I really still dug it. I thought it was a great movie, and I loved the dog in it. Thought the dog was adorable. So because my dog he was a yellow lab, she looked like sand. I said, why don't we name her Sandy? And it's really because in the back of my mind was, little orphan Annie.
Yeah. So, but lot of memorable stuff was in the theaters that summer. So this one, it didn't do that well. I think and that's why it didn't do a sequel and stuff like that. But it was like a $20 million budget, if I'm not mistaken, and it made less than 10, I think, in the U.S., 5 to 10, somewhere in that area. So the sequel, there was planned to be a couple of them, but that just never happened. Because of how it did.
Speaking of my Pinewood Derby car that I built for that year was a Megaforce car. I still got it. It's all painted up in the college. Maybe we'll try and dig it out in a few minutes after the show. Show you all.
So when you saw it in the theaters, you said you didn't know a whole lot about it, or you saw previews a lot for it, or
there's like a 30-second trailer I remember. It just showed. It kind of gave it a little talk, and then showed some tanks fighting, and it showed him. Not jumping up on the tank. The good guys always win, even in the 80s. And just on that quote alone, me and my dad were like, we gotta go see that.
I mean, it was just 2 years into the 80s, though.
Yeah.
Like, was it trying to promote like the fact that it was a new year?
Well, Hal Needham was talking about how he was like trying to latch on to the Reagan change because he said for a while the U.S. wasn't very. I don't want to go any more political than that. Let's cut that part right now. But it said that's what he said he was trying to do, and he thought he had a pulse on the nation. But anyways, enough of that because I don't want to get in contact with that.
Yeah. That's a whole different podcast for a whole different discussion.
Yeah,
but
but I think he was just. I think his main intent was just to make a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek movie. That was just that was a great line for something like that.
Yeah. Well, so you said you saw a trailer.
They said that at the end, though, because he said the good guys always win in the end. Even in the end or whatever. But no, I think at the end of the movie, he said even in the end. And then it goes the end. So if I remember correctly, that's what they said at the end. And I was like, that's a fucking great line and everything. But that they said that it was even in the 80s, that's what they said in the trailer makes sense for that. They can't say in the end. Because they can't spoil it.
Maybe they kind of dubbed it because some kind of direct, like a Lucasfilm trying to go in correctly.
I don't know. That's what I saw in I don't know. Did you see that at the end, Joe,
I
when
don't
you watched
remember
it?
that.
See which part?
The line at the end where he said the good guys always win in the
Yeah, I
end.
think they said this was the first time that I basically when I saw this, I believe I saw this as a kid, but when I watched it, it was completely fresh. I mean, I knew of the movie, but I didn't remember much about it
Uh-huh.
because when I was a kid, I don't remember the previews for it, but I do remember it was in my comic books like crazy. It was advertised like
Yeah.
all that, and I vaguely recall playing the Atari game,
Uh-huh.
where basically you just basically was going. It had the same music as like our same sounds as Comebacks. I mean that type of sounds,
Yeah.
but it was basically you were just skirting in the desert, shooting at things, and there's like fuel tanks there, and then you would morph from the motorcycle into like the flying plane sort of
Uh-huh.
thing, which I guess would fit with what happens with the motorcycle at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't see this or remember it, to be honest, and I don't think I saw this in the theaters, but I always remember the cover and the font, the way the font was,
Mhm.
and I always remember the video being pretty popular in the video store.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
But
you might be
I do
right.
have some of the
You might be
Matchbox cars.
right, Alfred. I might have been wrong, but I thought I heard him say the end. Maybe the caption was wrong or something.
It would be a
Uh
big Mandela effect for me if that happened.
yeah. Uh but I because it did say the end at the end. So, but I was looking at like YouTube things and quotes from the movie and it does say in the 80s. So it's not just the trailer, I don't think. It's the which is, kind of funny that they actually put it into the movie, even though they really didn't need to, I guess. I mean, it's a great line, but you know. Anyway, go ahead.
I had some of the Matchbox cars too. Joe was mentioning the Atari game. They had several Matchbox cars. I have them somewhere, but they were pretty fun. That one of the like dune buggies had like this like laser gun going up and down like it did in the movie, and they had a command vehicle. But speaking of banter, I really like the banter between Michael Beck and Barry Bostwick. They had a good thing going, kind of the buddy boom movie type stuff. Like when you love them in red and you love them in blue. And once you love you love them in red. That's stupid. Who said that? He goes, you did, but very wise.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Or yeah, very wise. I think that's what he said it.
That was the
Um,
weirdest like scene to me. I don't know. Like when I saw it, I was like, wait, what? Like, because when he said it,
that
what?
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, when he said it, it was very confusing. And then he was like, well, that's very stupid. Who would say that? And then I'm like, and then it was him. And then he's just like, yeah, it was a very wise thing to say, or whatever. And I'm just like, okay. I mean,
In
like,
these days, you can't be stupid.
I
Was that
guess,
any
yeah.
was that any stranger than like a minute later when the guy's doing the crossword puzzle or something, and the guy's throwing the knife at him, and
Yeah.
they're flipping it back and forth at each other. I was like, what the heck is this? And then like a few seconds later, they're getting ready to get launched out of the plane, and he's like, it's Lancaster for for the actor, or
Uh,
the 9 letter actor, because the one guy was like Brando and trying to say other stuff, and then it reminded me, well, I guess this movie was done afterwards. It reminded me in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, when the little kid was like, he makes the comment, he finally gets the joke at the end of the movie, and they laugh at it and stuff like that. But it's like, if you think about it, it's sort of a payoff from an earlier part of the film. So,
Yeah.
um,
I, I,
but
I dug that. That was sort of goofy. There was the characters were all a little wacky,
yeah.
or whatever. And I think that was the point, was this was like a ragtag group of
Mhm.
like people who wouldn't normally be together. They wouldn't normally mix together, but
Mhm.
because they have this common, group, Megaforce, they're put together and now they're just living it up. Like the one dude's doing the Rubik's Cube and can't figure it out, and one guy could just do it in like 10 seconds, I guess, or
Mhm.
whatever. It was just all a weird group. you know.
Well, I remember that as a kid. And it's like that there was the one person that could always solve the Rubik's Cube in no time. And it's like when I saw that in there, I was like, yep. When the other couple of them couldn't get it, I was like, one of these is going to be a wise guy and get it right away. And it's like, how do you do that? And it's just because it just clicks in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be the one that want to take the thing apart to put it back together and get it right. So it's like I don't know. I mean, I guess you weren't Moody. You weren't really with Rubik's cubes. I mean, I think you were a little bit older before so they're like sort of nostalgic. It wasn't first run released to you.
Oh, it wasn't first run or anything, but we did have Rubik's cubes. I never played with them. I didn't care. Like, and I still don't care. If you can solve a Rubik's cube, awesome for you. What does that mean, really? That just means you know how to do it. You know the trick. It's kind of like magic. I never got into magic. If I see somebody do magic, that's great, but I'm not like, I don't need to know how they did it or whatever. I can just watch somebody else do it and enjoy it. But yeah, so I never got into Rubik's cubes. But I like that scene. I knew, just like you, I knew somebody was going to be able to do it when the other two guys couldn't figure it out. That guy was going to do it, and he's going to do it like no time, and they'd be like show off, or whatever. But like, it's just I don't know, like some people just know how to do it. And once you know how to do it, you know how to do it, like it won't be, it's kind of like riding a bike, I think. Once you know how to.
Those 3D pictures in the mall, you can see all of them. But it took a long time for me to get my eyes crossed and what to do with it.
Oh yeah, did you do those like things? The mall, what is it? The posters, the 3D posters.
I could never get them. Everyone else said, "Oh, cool." I said, "Oh, cool. What is this? I don't see nothing."
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Mallrats now with that scene in Mallrats. It's a bunny, or what
it's a sailboat.
It's a sailboat. He's like, "You see it too?
Damn it!" What the other line is like, it's a schooner. It's not a schooner. It's a sailboat. Dumbass.
He sends that one kid off crying.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Speaking of we haven't mentioned Henry Silva yet.
We have not played Guerrera.
What a great villain.
Is it Carrera like more of a
or is it just Guerra?
Or Guerra?
It's probably Guerra when you have to roll the R's or something like that. Which I'm not good at rolling the R's in Spanish. I made that clear on day one of Spanish 101. I was like, yeah, rolling R's is not my specialty, but I think it's a rolled R name.
But yeah, he made his debut in I think his first movie was The Manchurian Candidate.
The Frank Sinatra one, right?
Yeah.
Definitely not the Denzel Washington.
No.
Manchurian Candidate. That's
unless he's working time backwards.
I know.
Right.
Yeah, his first one is in the future. Then he goes back in the past. That would be an interesting idea for a movie, as an actor who gets his start somewhere and then goes back in time and then starts acting in other movies and showing up and everything.
Right. But he was also in Buck Rogers. He had played Killer Kane and Buck Rogers before the other guy took over.
I enjoyed that show, yeah.
Yeah. I never watched it though. Like I know of it. I just never watched it. Never.
You never watched it, Eric?
No. I was never into Buck Rogers. Now,
well, you were what? How old were you when it came out? Like I'm trying to think when that came out. Wasn't that I was like early to mid '80s probably. So
yeah, I was probably like 2 or 3. I mean, but like even then, things go on reruns and all that stuff, and I'm just when like I said, like I'm a different like generation as you guys. You guys are Gen X, I'm here, I'm a millennial. So like you're an X and I'm a millennial. And I'm cool with that. Like I actually like, because I like having shows like this, or Paul doesn't want to admit it, but he's very close to being a boomer. I think he's trudging that line. He's getting older, like he's old, like all that. He hates the boomers, but kind of thing. But I but I'm a millennial. Like I was a millennial like a year into it or whatever. and stuff. So I actually love being that because the different stuff like that I watched completely different than what you guys enjoyed, And I did enjoy a lot of the stuff you guys enjoyed because a lot of the 80s movies and 70s movies that you guys talk about are just stuff that anybody can watch these days and relate to,
And they're not exactly timeless either because they're very fixed in where they're at. I mean, they can make some movies that you can watch it was made in the 40s and it's still like today you don't even think of it differently. Like these are just it's in the 80s, it's in the early 80s, the mid 80s, or late 80s. Like the letter me was talking about the clothes and like Predator 2 and stuff. How they had all these like weird cuts to them and stuff, and that's kind of like the late 80s with the big shoulder pads and big shoulders and but Henry Hill also played a villain in one of the Steven Seagal movies. He's the one who got his arm bent backwards. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, one of the I hesitate to say good Steven Seagal, but there was a few good Steven Seagal films, especially the ones in the mid
Under
90s.
Siege was good,
Yeah, well, Die Hard on a Boat, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about that. I think that's about the point. Under Siege was probably about the end of. Well, he had a few others around that time period. Hard to Kill, Above the Law. They were all sort of in the same vein. Under Siege was a little bit different.
The best one I thought he was in was the one where Kurt Russell was the president.
Oh, that's his best performance.
Yeah. I said, he died. That's what we said, too.
He's in it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like Executive Decision, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Executive Decision, yeah.
Yeah, that was to me, that was probably his best single performance.
Everybody, all my friends thought the same thing. He was getting very irritating then.
I was laughing because like Steven Seagal was on a TV show, like this travel TV show where this father and son go traveling and everything. And then the guy got really excited to see Steven Seagal in the hotel. So he goes up and talks to him and goes, My daddy would be so happy to like see you. And he goes, You still call your dad daddy? And I was like, he's such a jerk. Like he's such an asshole. But he like pushes the guy into the pond and stuff, and like he's such a dick in that. And I was just like, that's awesome. Like that's just the Steven Seagal living his life, just doing his thing. Don't bother him when he's on vacation.
Yeah, the thing with Seagal, it's just his fighting style and all. It was like he would never really take. It's just he was always one-upping everything, and he could never really be humbled in his movies. It didn't seem, and that's why it's kind of a bummer that I mean I would have loved to see him been humbled and done some stuff with like how like Van Damme and Lundgren did a lot of stuff together, or they overlap with Stallone or something like that. But
yeah,
I guess
he wasn't even in the Expendables though, right? Like nobody even wanted him. Nobody wanted him in that, right?
Yeah.
Really, I didn't know that. I knew he was missing from it.
Where was that, Alfred?
What? I knew he was missing from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever asked, or if he was asked, he probably wanted to have more say or something like that in it.
Yeah, he'd want to be the lead, like take Sylvester Stallone's part, I bet. I don't see him as being like, like back in the Executive Decision days, he was second banana to Kurt Russell, but like, he was a villain though. Like, that's the thing. You kind of expect to be like, the second person there.
Well, he wasn't a villain in the Executive Decision.
No, he was part of that.
Didn't he sacrifice himself for
the shit? That's right. I thought he was.
The stealth plane is carried like forces troops to get on, like John Leguizamo and them would get on the plane.
Yeah. So it's. But what I wish he would have done something like in one of the Expendables, sort of like what Van Damme did, where he came in, did one film and was a bad guy, and that was it. It was one fell swoop. But I guess that ship sailed now.
Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. They're still doing Expendables.
Well, unfortunately, and I love Expendables, but that last one was hard to watch.
It was.
And that's unfortunate because I really like the people that was involved in it too. It just to me it just didn't work. But because it's I like Statham and I like Stallone and but it just unfortunately didn't work for me. But you never know. They might do something. But I know Stallone's getting he's pushing 80 now.
Oh, he's also
Yeah.
getting a lot of heat. Did you hear about what happened to him?
What?
I heard
So,
he did he yell at some
well, not
cat
yell.
or
He didn't yell, but what he did was he like talked trash about some background people apparently. But like the whole situation was on the set of his TV show, the mob show that he does or whatever.
Tulsa King. Yeah.
Tulsa King, he was there was supposed to be young people at this club, and the casting people put like older people and everything and people that wouldn't look good inside a club,
Hmm.
into the background. And him and the director were like making remarks about the people, like, look at that, I don't even want to say it, but it's just like some nasty remarks about the people's weight and look and everything. And they were upset that there wasn't good looking people and there wasn't skinny people in the thing and stuff.
The beautiful people. The beautiful
Yeah.
people.
I know, like that's
Well, and
apparently what they wanted.
I mean I don't know the truth too. I mean I know that's what's come out and stuff like that. So, but the general comment that I would say is it's just on sets and stuff like that. There's no need for that. It's just like, I mean, everybody's, I mean, especially with the extras and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of them are getting like scale, if that, if anything. And it's about making a production and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
if somebody's going to be so just about strictly about appearance, I mean, I know that is from a different time than now. So anybody who does that, so
And it really disappoints me because there's a whole thing in the Expendables like DVD where or Blu-ray or whatever it was, where he's discussing in a behind the scenes how he was, they brought like food like pizza or something back for catering for his first movie that he was ever in. And then this AD goes, don't give it to that guy. He's only going to be here for an extra hour and that's it. Right? And he goes, well, fuck you. Why don't I get any pizza? Like why
wow.
why are you like that? And so he said, like, everybody gets, and he was cheeseburgers. He was like, everybody on my set gets a cheeseburger, now. And I'm like, see, that's a nice kind of thing. So to hear that he allegedly, because
Yeah.
there's no tapes or anything like that, said these nasty things or whatever really hurts my heart to hear. But
Yeah.
I don't know for a fact.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
what we
things
say.
are just stir up,
Yeah, yeah, because the allegedly, yeah, because it's like, I mean, the whole innocent until proven guilty, but the reality is that happens by people on sets, regardless of if it's name or not a name. I mean, Stallone on the other side, I mean, he gave such a moving tribute when Carl Weathers passed away. So it's like, I think Stallone's got a lot of good good graces over the year too. So it's like, but
Yeah.
I from what we've heard on sets, just in general, and being on sets, I mean, I know that I'm never in one of those degrading situations on a set. I've never been part of that because that would just not fly with me. I mean, if I had
No,
any
and
stay in the situation.
come on, we were all in the Echo Lake stuff. Did anybody on the set treat anybody like that? I don't think so,
No, it was. I mean, there's different personalities, but different personalities is not mean disrespectful. I mean,
Nobody was
so
disrespectful
yeah,
to
so
any of the movies,
yeah, and that's
that
what
we
I
worked
always
on.
try to strive to have because, especially on our stuff, because I mean that's more of an independent production to where it's minimal to no budget to where it's like a lot of these people are just
Our
being generous
our
to help.
volunteers, they could walk
Yeah,
off at any
yeah,
time.
so
So you want to, I mean, I hate to say it, but you want to kiss their ass because,
yeah,
treat them well, give them lots of good food. If they're
yeah,
not getting paid, they better get fucking food,
Have you all seen
and that's just decency.
Yeah.
have you all seen the show The Extras with Ricky Gervais? It's on BBC, part of the Prime package with Verizon. It's really good. It's about him being an extra.
I
Oh, that'd
know
be
of it.
interesting.
I've never seen it.
It's pretty funny. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I gotta check it out at some point. I like Ricky, but his humor is the same, It's
Yeah,
Ricky being
yeah.
Ricky. So after a while it kind of becomes like the same thing over and over again. So it
No
kind of
more Ricky, my wiki.
All right, let's get back.
Yeah,
Let's
so-
get back to the movie
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
I was getting ready to say let's bring it back to Megaforce. It'd be interesting that, and I don't know, Alfred, you might be able to help us on this because you have a little bit more history with this film. Do you own it on DVD or Blu-ray? I don't even know if there's a Blu-ray of it, but do you own?
I own,
You know, 'cause
I
you
own a
own
Blu-ray.
DVD.
I own a Blu-ray of it.
Okay.
Somewhere.
You said you have a Blu-ray of it?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know, like, is there any behind the scenes making of? And I know they had some outtakes at the end and stuff like that, but is there? And that's Hal Needham. I think he does.
I think
that
there
from
is, and I
time
think
to
there's
time.
commentary on it too.
Okay.
I gotta
Yeah,
find it though. I don't know where it is.
because I know that those are pre-packaged to a degree, those the behind the scenes and stuff like that. But it's always interesting to see stuff, especially when it's so far removed time wise, to how some of the production, even if it's just stills and stuff like that on the sets and stuff like that. It's always cool to see some of the behind the scenes, especially on movies that, like for this one, it has a special place for you.
All the cars were real. There were no models and stuff. I'm sure they had models for some scenes, but all the like the 20 dune buggies, and the guy cost $1 million to make all those.
Yeah.
And so those are
that's Hal
vehicles.
Needham's. Yeah, and that's Hal Needham's style to have that. I think he likes doing those sort of things with just on the sets. And so, I mean, the big chase in the middle of the desert, it kind of reminded me of one of the chases in Smokey and the Bandit, where they put everybody in the big long lines and they had the big to dos and stuff like that. So this was right in his wheelhouse. I think the genesis of this movie, to me, it seems like it was just like he just wanted to get people together and blow a lot of stuff up and make a lot of explosions and fast driving stuff that would cause chaos.
Yeah, and
seems...
and he was using. I mean, I like he was using. As the discussion goes, green screen or or what is it called? The real effects, the real deal.
Well, yeah, they said something about the Introvision was like this was one of the first films to do that. So I know that some of the green screen, especially at the end, was a little rough. But introducing a new technology or being one of the early ones into a technology is always something too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that last scene when the motorcycle takes off and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks it looks so dated because we're so used to now is of there being a flow of almost two.
I think it was the same scene looping, the same terrain looping.
Yeah, I know, right?
A lot of it was green screen, and I want to say like that scene that's in my background with the them falling out in the sky and doing the stuff. I mean, I have this feeling that was green screen too. Like that almost
the closest on them a green screen, but I think those are real. Those two people, but they're probably real, but
like real stunt people probably flying around. But yeah, they did a great job, like coming together and grabbing each other's, arms and things like that, and doing all that. So I thought that was the cutest scene. But I was just thinking about it. Michael Beck is up there with them at that time, but he doesn't jump out. Was he just like letting them go out, like? And
I think so.
Like have their little moment to get. Was he? Would you consider like Dallas his wingman? No pun intended. Or maybe it was.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because he let him go out there and have a little kind of romantic scene together with her, which I thought was really sweet.
I think he said early on in the movie that none of them had rank, except they were going to see him as a commander. Everyone else was kind of equal.
Everybody was sort of equal. Yeah.
Except for Ace was the leader.
Yeah.
Ace was, nobody can dispute that Ace was the one in charge, but like, I still think he would listen to everybody if anybody had something to say or was disputing him. Just nobody disputed him because he was always right, I guess, which kind of makes him sort of in my opinion, sort of a boring character. Because like if you're always the winner, basically, there's no real, like it's not as exciting as like I was kind of hoping that the guys would get like captured and like like in Stripes where they get captured and they like taken, and then the people have to go in there and save them or whatever. Like I was hoping something like that would happen, or whatever. But I don't know. It was still kind of cool, like just all the explosions, all the cool
Yeah.
tools and different stuff that they had.
Yeah, the actual scene was the assault on the town, and then the fight on the dry lake bed were just really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at the rating and a lot of the reviews, I know this has got a very polarizing um, take, if you will. The critics, I mean, destroyed it. It seems like it has a very cult following, if you will. I think, and I think for me personally, there was some things I really liked about it. I think if I would have seen it as a kid, I'm sure I did, and I was seeing it regularly over time, it would probably be in one of those guilty pleasure type of movies.
Mhm.
When I was watching it here, there was some things I was like, what am I there were some parts in it that was just a little dry to me. I mean, they did
Yeah.
have the I was like, okay, it's going to get to the next thing where they're going to have all sorts of explosions or something
Right.
like that. And I think that's what that's what the big thing was. It was let's see how much stuff we can blow up, how many cars fast we can drive, how many different color smoke can come out of motorcycles.
Yeah.
and then let's wrap it around a little bit of a story and just and then some wisecracking,
Yeah,
if you will.
The
And
wisecracking and banter, I enjoyed that.
yeah,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wisecracking banner was fun.
so I think this is one of those movies that I would have more appreciation if it would have been part of my throughout my life of seeing it, because this, like I said, when I watched it this time, it felt brand new to me. I didn't remember anything.
Last time I watched
okay,
this, believe it or not, was I found an old VHS of it like 20 years ago when I moved into the house. But I just knew the movie so much because I've seen it so many times growing up that like
Yeah.
I felt because and before that, who knows? But I remember when I was on HBO in the '80s, every time I was on, I probably was watching.
I was getting ready to ask you. I was like, was this part of the 20 films on HBO that was always one of them was always on every other night or
I
something?
think so, yeah.
Probably late at night would be my guess. Like, let's watch some Megaforce,
I think it's like a G-rated movie.
Yeah. It was G-rated, and I mean
Well, this was PG, I'm sure, right?
I don't know.
This is
Well, it can't be G because it has explosions, so there's danger. So
And
I think it'd have to be PG. It was 82, so it wouldn't have been.
yeah,
There was no
PG.
PG-13. There was no 13 at that point. So, and I don't think this hit R
No,
unless they
you're
had some
right.
magic words that I missed.
it was funny because the girl, this would not be made the same way today, because that girl would have to be part of Megaforce, now if it were made today. Because back then, the way he explains it to her, basically saying, like, look, I would love it has nothing to do with you being a woman, because she does bring that up. It has something to do with me being a woman. And he's like, no, it's you being an outsider. Nobody's going to be okay with you because they're not going to believe whatever, because you're an outsider. Like, they're not going to trust you. It could be anybody that comes into the group. Now all of a sudden there's somebody new and they don't trust them. And so I was like, and she accepted that very well without pouting or throwing up a fight or causing
anyway.
yeah, or any issue that normally could have been brought up in the 80s, right? And everything. And it was done very respectfully. And then yet they also fell in love, and they were going to meet each other at the hotel, apparently, or whatever, So, which we never see. Freaking mad about. I wanted to see them meet up at the hotel, at the end of the movie, but instead we get the thumbs up, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kiss the thumb, sort of. Was that just their little thing between them two, or was it to everybody? Like is that saying goodbye, or
Well,
was that a romantic?
Mr. Country saying goodbye. I know that's what they did when they were going to put that in a Masked Lord of Illusions, when the guy bit his thumb. She put the blood on and mixes a face mask.
I don't think that was that, but
No. But
oh, you always kind of think of that when you
oh.
No, I don't know. I think the kissing of the thumb and everything was just just them. It was a sweet thing to them. But then at the end, it was a thing to say goodbye to the audience,
Mhm.
and everything. So it which was really cool. Like, was a cool way to say goodbye. Um, I I don't know. Like, I didn't dig it as much as Alfred digs it, and I
Mhm.
don't think I dig it as much as Joe dug it. But I think Joe's right. I think if this had been part of my childhood, the funny thing is I didn't grow up on Rambo. I saw Rambo.
Mhm.
I would sneak watch Rambo on TV every now and then, but that was all the stuff, the fun stuff was cut out or whatever, so it wasn't that it was on like USA or whatever.
Mhm.
And I bet Megaforce could have been on USA too.
Mhm.
Well, I think you and I are probably on the same page with it, Moody. I think in general,
Yeah,
it's a movie that like I said, I remember pieces of stuff from like the advertisements and stuff like that, and I still in some of the old comics, it's still there. It's like it was for years there was that, and then there was Orca one for a number of years too. That was like
Orca.
Yeah.
I
70s.
loved Orca.
Yeah, but it was always the back cover inside those comic books. It was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
so I remember that, and then Atari was just. I mean, I played everything on Atari, and there
Wait,
was,
was
so,
Megaforce on Atari?
yeah, they had an Atari game, Megaforce.
Oh, was that based on the?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
based on the movie. That's what I was talking about earlier with the sequencing. It was like you would it played the combat music, and it would like you would be like shooting down at stuff, and it was. I mean, a lot of the games back then, it was kind of the same thing, but then they tweak it a little bit to make it its own unique type of thing. But yeah, it was just basically a combat Space Invaders type of
Mhm.
scroll thing to where you just shot up and down at different things. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's based on the movie or the movie. The game was based after the movie, probably. It was one of the earlier movie adaptations for a game.
That's
And they probably just took
awesome.
you said, they probably took the combat game or something and just get reskinned and just put a different label, so you can put it in a different box.
I
Yeah,
gotta see.
exactly. Just have a few different backgrounds. There are YouTube clips on the game, like you could like
That's what I'm gonna
watch.
look up right now. Megaforce Atari
Yeah,
clips.
But
on the 2600. Yeah, so
speaking of special effects and YouTube and everything, when we wrap it up, we're talking about the biggest huge tank fight, and he takes his motorcycle and he stops and he knocks on the tank. He says his famous words, and then he gets in the gets on his bike. I don't know if he did some of the lighter. Did they switch the lighters back or something? In the movie, once they switching the lighters in a couple scenes, I
yeah,
can't remember.
there's some sort of lighter switch. Well, because at the end he the villain pulls the lighter out and looks at it fondly. So and once he knows he was beat too. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
then
So
then why don't you talk? So Barry Bostwick's up there. Everyone's going, and Michael Beck says, "Come on, baby, come on, we can't wait." And then the plane takes off, and this is some pretty cool scenes. But then he's like, the wings start coming out of the side of the motorcycle, and he's like, "What is happening now?" And they don't say he launches it into the sky, and like you're saying, the inclusitron or whatever it is for the ground, and it was really hokey.
Mm.
But they had some scenes in the trailer, like him spinning around. I don't remember that, but it wasn't in the movie. But and then
oh
he
well,
comes in.
they had the one where he went upside down. And
Yeah,
I was like, how's he staying on the bike? I was like, he's not like seat belted in.
his hair wasn't moving, so he had a lot of hairspray in it, probably.
A lot of the bike
Well,
stuff was obviously green screened and everything
Yeah.
because it looked so silly and goofy. I was talking to John Ward about this. I told him I watched it and I told him I wasn't the biggest mega fan, of it, but I did enjoy parts of it and whatnot and a lot,
I really like him on the show. I really
and
like to have him on the show.
and so John actually told me that his thoughts on it were that he loved it because of how bad it was, how
Yeah,
cheesy it is,
yeah.
like, and the stuff with the being on the bike and everything just looked awful, but was fun.
yeah, and that's why I say that it has a cult following, and it's like one of those guilty pleasure, guilty watch. And I mean, everybody has them for whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
the I have mine just like anybody else,
yeah.
so and this one I think Needham probably was inspired one with some of the stunt cars and stuff like that, with all the Smoking the Bandit and Cannonball Run, that type of stuff. And then with how Road Warrior and Mad Max and stuff like that so it's like putting some of those different types of vehicles into play, and then having sort of
Go Froze.
Yeah, Joe.
At each other.
Sorry, Joe, you froze for a second.
Oh, okay.
But what were you saying?
I was just saying, hey, there was like Mad Max references, or feel with some of the cars and motorcycles and the racing and fighting and stuff like that. And then there's the two countries battling it out. That just it had a early '80s feel to it, probably.
Yeah.
The culture that it was in.
And speaking of '80s, I love the soundtrack, the music I really enjoyed. But in the beginning, you kind of see the whole end battle in the beginning when they do the opening credits. You see the end. You don't know it at the time, but
so Moody, this is the movie. This movie, you are a product of this movie's time.
I know. Well, it's funny.
This is the culture that was making this movie.
I know, and I was kind of thinking about it. So I have so we did the '80s, whole '80s season, right? Did a whole '80s stuff, and then so I wanted to switch it up and do like my '90s, kind of got my '90s stuff coming up here. But it looks like Alfred's still that's still his favorite year, your favorite decade. So he's bringing that in. I'm excited to see what other movies, if some of them are '80s or others. And Joe, I feel like you're going to be in the mix. Maybe you might be.
Yeah, I know two of the ones I'm doing this season. They're coming up. They're '80s, so these will be more '80s. But then I can definitely go into the '70s and '60s for some, or even before, to be honest. But maybe
we haven't. Have we even done '70s and under yet?
No,
not on so. Here. Outside of maybe like if we've done anything like Jaws or Halloween or
those were for
Star
film
Wars.
freaks, we didn't even do that for a year.
Yeah. So there's a number of films in the '70s that I could get into that it might be next season. Yeah. So but I already know that two of the ones for later for this season, including the one for the next episode.
We're only going to that now because we're getting close to the end. I think we're about to wrap it up here. So why don't you go ahead and last thoughts, and then I think we just had last thoughts. And we can
sort of had last thoughts. I mean, Alfred, real quick. So this was your pick and everything. This is your movie that you watch over and over again.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that. Okay.
When I was a kid, I watched it over and over.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's why I've seen it over and over again.
Now I haven't seen it. Yeah. No. Okay.
Do you think it would still hold up to you?
It does, but I don't have to watch it. If I could watch it every day, it'd be like, But I would
Okay.
I really like it, but it's one I can't watch all the time now because I know exactly what's going to happen. And sometimes you need a break, so you get the little breaks in there. But I liked it. It was a decent movie. It was a product of the '80s, and which I was, and it has some cool meaning to me. I mean, one of my Pinewood Derby cars was based on that car from the movie, and fun cast. And I remember at the end he blows up Edward Mulhauer's luxury helicopter with a bar and everything at the end, and for whatever reason I don't know, but and it's happy.
It's because that's what they wanted to do. They just wanted to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
And it was another explosion was something that they could add to the for another 30 seconds or 15 seconds.
It's a good movie to just turn your brain off and do a chore or something, have it on in the background. Oh yeah, I remember this part. And so before I saw it, and it wasn't available hardly anywhere on VHS or DVD for a long time. And then I saw it about in 2004 when I moved into this house, watching it on VHS. And then it was about 15, 20 years later, I found it on DVD somewhere. So I watched it then, and I had to rent it today because I was can't find my DVD, which is somewhere around the house. But yeah, I thought entertaining and it's kind of maybe dated, but definitely dates in the time period. It gives a good carbon dating of the 80s and a feel for it.
There you go. And I think Moody, I do the same thing I did. And, yeah, I guess Alfred as well. Because I looked around for DVDs at like thrift shop like I always do, and never could come across and don't own it. So yeah, it was a online rental for me.
Yeah, it's
As
definitely a
well.
movie that deserves like a good Blu-ray treatment, like a good one, like like Shout Factory or I want to say like Arrow, doing so that they can put out like commentary and documentary about the making of it or whatever, so people can see that.
Yeah, unless maybe there is something which none of us are
I
aware
I,
of, I
I
guess.
looked it up on eBay, and there is one for like $30 that seems whatever. And the other ones are like ones from like Germany or like Australia or some shit. And I wouldn't buy from them, but because I wouldn't be so sure if it's a all region or region B or something. But yeah, I would love to own like, I mean, even though this isn't the movie that I would pick, even if I'd seen it now. It's a movie that I think I'm very glad I watched because it is a product of its time. And it is sort of like the precursor to stuff like the A-Team and other shows and movies that kind of took after this that were like, let's get a team of superheroes together in a way, or whatever, So this is the Avengers before Avengers, and everything. And G.I. Joe. I think G.I. Joe did steal a lot of stuff from this, So, Ace Hunter is Duke,
Yes.
So I loved it. I thought it was a movie of its time, and I'm very glad I watched it.
I'm glad.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, there's things I take out of it. Yeah, I've always wanted to see it because the box always caught my attention and stuff like that. And from what I remember, like I said, what I remember as a childhood playing the game and all. Some things I take away from it that I enjoyed overall. It probably wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I think that it's one of those movies that if it did catch me as a kid, like some of the other ones did, it'd be in the same bucket, and it'd be in one of those things that you could just get a good laugh at or whatever and move on from it and stuff like that. It's just being removed from that and not being in on the joke, I guess, all those years, it doesn't quite hit that spot for me. But there are some things in it that I could see where the director, Hal Needham, is how where he got his Smoking the Bandit stuff from. He used some of that in this. But
yeah,
so
it was fun. Like, I'd watch it again, but it probably not like tomorrow.
No.
Like Alfred says, there are some movies I could probably watch over and over again, even though I know every single line. Like Billy Madison, I know every single line of that movie, but I can watch it over and over and over again. But but it has to have some comfort for me, and I don't know, things just blowing up all the time. I just have to be in the mood for that, like I never grew up on action like that, like so it doesn't have that same thing for me. But anyway, so now that we're sort of at that time period, Joe, we're doing next is Joe's movie, in was it next month? And what can you tell everybody what we're going to be doing?
Sure. I don't have the exact year that it was made. I think it was 1983. I believe so. The classic War Games.
Games, yes. So yeah, and I told you, I think I told you when you told me that I was like, Alfred's gonna enjoy that one, because so yeah, man, thank you, that's awesome.
I don't even have to say anything else. I just had the classic War Games. It's just there's so much that all three of us can go into on that one, and if you hear anybody else who wants to join in on it, that's great too. But I think the three of us are going to have a lot to say about this one.
Being Cold War babies too is a lot of impact on us that it might not have on other people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's on
Yeah. So,
Max apparently, so I can, it's on HBO Max. So
oh, you don't own it? Own it?
I don't own it yet. I mean,
Well, we'll get into that next time.
I think I probably have it on DVD somewhere, in my huge DVD collection that you saw at the studio. So you know, maybe it's part of the stuff we have to fucking move on Sunday. I don't know. I have to get with you about that later. But it's one of those things where I own it somewhere, I think, but not on Blu-ray yet. And I think I'm waiting for 4K if there's not one already. So
that'd be a great one to have on 4K.
No.
I think I might have it on Blu.
It's funny because I do this thing on Blu-ray Hunter where every month I'll do like my top 10 4Ks that are coming out the next month. And what I've started to realize is the Paramount and those companies are really trying to put out their like old stuff onto 4K now. They're doing their hardest.
4K is not going to be probably going to get rid of discs pretty soon, probably 5 years, 10 years.
I hope not. Like, give it freaking 20 years, man.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Isn't a couple of the studios outsourcing their libraries to some of these boutique vendors like
sometimes
the Kino and stuff like that? And maybe that's what it's going to take to get some of these movies that really should have the restoration.
That's why I said Megaforce would be perfect for that. I think War Games, whoever put that out, either it be Paramount
I think it's MGM.
MGM. If MGM's still doing stuff, I don't even know if they're still doing stuff or whatever. But if they still are.
It's part of Amazon, I think now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe
we'll get into that on the episode though.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited. That sounds like a really fun one.
Yeah.
I had a blast just watching this because I'd never seen it. And from the very beginning of it, where they had like the music. By the way, the guy who composed the music to Dallas.
Oh, nice.
I didn't even realize that, but I was like, this music sounds very strangely familiar kind of stuff,
Chips too.
Yeah. You think Chips?
And it sounds like Chips kind of has that kind of noise.
Maybe. Let me look him up. Look it up real quick, because the composer is Gerald Immel, and he did. He was the composer to How the West Was Won, the TV series. Dallas, Knots Landing. He did the composing for that.
Primetime soaps.
Yeah, he did a lot of primetime soap stuff. He did the Twilight Zone for one episode. What episode was that? If She Dies and Ye Gods. So I don't know. Composer for If She Dies. I don't know.
That's the new Twilight Zone or the old one?
That's the 1985 one. So then let's see.
I love that series, by the way.
Yeah, so he did mostly television. Knots Landing, Dallas, Gunsmoke, the television, the TV movie, Megaforce. He did 4 episodes of The Magical World of Disney, and a few, like he does a lot of looks like he does a lot of westerns and stuff. Oh, he was the composer of Lassie, A New Beginning movie. So I mean, and Logan's Run had a TV series.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
he did the composing for 2 episodes of that. So and Gunsmoke. So he's a busy guy. Like he was doing stuff back in the day. But yeah, that's wonderful. All right, everybody. I think that about wraps it up. Unless anybody has something. Yeah. Thank you guys all for joining us and check this out. Join us next month where we're going to be talking about War Games, and we're really excited about that. So,
now when you talk about that movie,
yeah, I can't wait. I almost want to watch it now, but I got too much other movies to watch, right now that I'm busy. But I will watch it before we do that. So, and I'm glad it's on HBO Max. So, and if you at home want to watch it before, just check it out on HBO Max.
All right.
All right, everybody. Hope you guys had a good one.
Here.
Bye.
Right. Take care, everyone. All right. Bye.
You're listening to the Hollywood Boulevard Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Boulevard Podcast. My name is Alfred, and I'm Hey, welcome back to the Indie. What are we on?
Hollywood Boulevard.
Hey, this is Alfred. Welcoming you back to.
Take 25.
All right.